Hi, today let's talk about resilience and building resilience as a leader. We recognize that, as we journey through leadership, as we journey in fulfilling our purpose, in, working towards our goals, we will go through difficult moments. We recognize also that we live in a world that has been described as volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, right? And it's important that we have the skill set required to be able to navigate difficulties, to be able to overcome challenges, and still be able to continue on the journey or on our journey of purpose without losing our minds, right? I'm sure that you agree with me that you've gone through a difficult situation that almost had you thinking about finding the strength to keep on going. We've all been there. I've been there. In fact, I'll tell you that recently, I lost a family member, and I was just, really, really, it really shook me, right? And trying to continue on that journey of leadership, recognizing that I lead multiple expressions, right? How was I able to still navigate my feelings of grief and still find, my resilience, right, as a leader? And I'll be sharing with you some of the tips that have helped me. And it's, it's from my own experience and also based on some of the insights that I've gotten from my journey and from different seasons of my life, right? And so I'll start with why do we need resilience? Why do we need resilience? Think about it. Think about a very difficult time that you went through and how were you able to overcome that situation? When you think about that difficult time, you will recognize that there were certain, skill sets unknown to you that you exuded that helped you with navigating that difficult time. And that's what truly makes up resilience, right? I recognize that a lot of young leaders struggle with going through difficulties. I recognize that, some people, when they're going through, I'm sure you'd have heard of, oh, I'm just trying to protect my mental health. Oh, I'm just trying to protect my mental health. It's something that is in today, in our world today, right? People don't want to go through difficult situations. They're in a workplace, they're complaining about toxicity, a boss is being difficult or a boss is working, ensuring that they, put in their best work and they complain, oh, I just can't deal with it, right? So we recognize that resilience is something that we all need at whatever level that we find ourselves in. And so, what is resilience? Why do we need resilience, and how can we build resilience? In the next few minutes, I'll just run through um, these three core areas and just share my insights to help you with developing the resilience required to fulfill your vision, to go on your journey of purpose, and also in line with your identity. I'm starting with why we need resilience because we all have challenges. I've shared with you how I had to navigate grief. There's certain difficulties that I've experienced on the journey of leadership, on the journey of working towards my goals, right? On the journey of leading others. And because of the difficulties that I've gone through, I can't just pause and say, you know what, I'm not even doing again, right? Recognizing that I've been placed here on earth to serve a lot of people, I can't allow, the challenges that I go through prevents me from continuing on this journey of impact, of legacy, right? And, making my impact felt and heard by the people who need it the most. So we find that we will go through times when we don't have enough money in our bank accounts. We have more needs than we have money. The money is not just working, and the maths isn't mathsing, like they'll say in Nigerian English. You find that at the end of the month, for instance, if you're a salary earner, you calculate your salary and your needs. By the time you're done, you have nothing left, right? So there's that kind of challenge. In Nigeria, we went through a difficult time in terms of like the increase of fuel prices, petrol prices. I know in Kenya, for those in Kenya as well, they've been going through inflation. Inflation cuts across everyone. My friends in Ghana, every single country they are experiencing some measure of inflation, even those in the United Kingdom as well. All my friends who are in the United Kingdom. So we find that this cuts across, we have these challenges that, cuts across each of us regardless of the nation that we're based in. We find time constraint to be a challenge as well, right? Time constraint can be a challenge. Like, how can I meet up with all the demands of my time? How can I meet up with all the responsibilities of my table based on all the things that I expected of me, the expectations of me, without losing your core, the essence of who you are. And so resilience, it may sound strange, but champions are made champions by setbacks. Champions are made champions by difficulties. Champions are made champions by challenges, right? It may sound um it may sound like tautology, right? But it's the truth. If you don't have battles, you can't experience victory. If you don't have things to overcome, you can't be called an overcomer. Okay. And so it's important that we recognize that when we have challenges, we're in a good place. When we have to work through difficulties, we're in a good place because the human soul and the brain, the way that we are set up as humans, we have that elasticity that we can expand, we can take on things as we grow, as we grow through situations, we can take on things, we can increase the capacity. So you don't run away from challenges. It's my point. The whole point of building resilience is that you don't run away from challenges, especially challenges that work for your good, because there are certain challenges that will work for your good, right? There are certain challenges that would require you to develop yourself better. There are certain challenges that will require you to say, well, you know what? I got to do better in this area of my life. I need to get this knowledge so that I can, have the required knowledge to go through this particular circumstance. So it may sound strange, like Bob Richards says here in this quote, and you know that I love to, give quotes when I'm doing my sessions, right? It may sound strange, but many champions are made champions by setbacks. And look at this other quote by Eric, says, no one escapes pain, fear, and suffering. Yet from pain can come wisdom, from fear can come courage, from suffering can come strength. If we have the virtue of resilience, we all have battles to fight, and it's often in those battles that we are most alive. It's on the front lines of our lives that we earn wisdom, we create joy, we forge friendships, discover happiness, find love, and do purposeful work. This is just beautiful because when you really sit down to think about the situation, that very difficult situation. Maybe you have a difficult boss, or you just maybe suffered a heartbreak, right? Or whatever other example can I give? Like you're going through financial challenges, because many people go through financial challenges, and that's one challenge. If you're not a Dangote, or who else is it? Jeff Bezos or someone, right? Many people go through financial challenges, and they're just like, you know what? How am I going to get through this? But we recognize that we can actually develop courage, and no one achieved anything worthwhile in life without courage. So you see why we need resilience. You see why we need to be able to harness, the virtue out of resilience, the virtue from suffering, the virtue from difficulties, the virtue from challenges. There's virtue there. And that's why we say we can earn wisdom. So for instance, any person who goes through a heartbreak, you know what to look out for in the next relationship. Do you understand? You've gained wisdom through the difficult moment that you went through that heartbreak, right? And so we must have this perspective as we journey through life when we go through difficult challenges, because we know that the way the world is being set up, we will continue. There will be one thing or the other. And it never really stops, to be honest, right? I'm sure you've heard of that phrase, problem no they finish. But the point is that we must be able to build the resilience required to, earn the wisdom we need from the circumstances we go through, develop the virtues required for us to continue on the journey of leadership, personal leadership, and living purposeful lives, right? Now, let's look at the dictionary definition of resilience. I have some of my definitions here, but there are also um, definitions from the dictionary. Resilience is the capacity to withstand, to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. You see, to withstand, right? To take it with your full chest, to take that difficult situation with your full chest. It's also the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks, is the ability to cope, to thrive, to flourish when the going gets tough. I'm sure you've heard of that quote. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. I'm sure you've heard of it, right? I don't remember who said it now, but resilience is the ability to cope, to thrive, and to flourish when the going gets tough. It's not an extraordinary ability that only special people possess, right? every single human. Think about how our forefathers started, I mean, and we're living based on the sacrifices that they made, right? And look, think about how harsh the conditions they lived in were. Some people, in mud houses, not they didn't have the kind of, electrical supply we have now, the kind of gadgets, internet gadgets or technology gadgets that we have. But think about how they were still able to cope, to thrive, and to flourish. And so if they did it, right, there's no challenge. There's a scripture that talks about there's no challenge that is new. Nothing is new on the earth. Not what was, or what is was, and what was is. You get. So resilience is the ability to cope, to thrive, and flourish when the going gets tough. It's a critical life skill that has roots in the key to humankind's survival. Look at it. I didn't even realize this. And I was just talking to you about how our forefathers were able to survive in harsh conditions. Harsh conditions, worse than what we find ourselves in today. It's the ability to cope with stress and unexpected challenges and to thrive in such situations. We don't cower in fear. We don't, we don't cower in fear, or we don't run away from unexpected challenges. We've got to be able to cope with them. So resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to external and internal demands. See that external and internal demands, because you have both, challenges that are internal, right? And challenges that are external. So your ability to successfully adapt to these challenges, it's what resilience is. So it's important. Everybody needs to build resilience. In today's world, every single person needs to build resilience, all right? And if we don't build resilience, what happens? There are certain things that happen, especially when we're going through difficult situations. You find that, there's certain symptoms that play out. And I put some of these symptoms that play out. When you're going through like a really stressful time, you have a challenge that that's just right there in front of you. It's not moving, maybe you lost someone or it's just a difficult time. There are certain symptoms that play out if we don't have that, inner power and that resilient spirit. Physical symptoms are here for you: headaches, stomach aches, fatigue. Some people are not able to sleep, illness, they lose appetite, right? Some emotional symptoms: helplessness, cynicism. When you've gone through disappointment many times, you become cynical, a sense of failure or self-doubt. Some people lose focus, the ability to concentrate, you're not decreased satisfaction, you start feeling detached, or you feel alone, or even isolation. Some people isolate themselves, right? We see people isolate themselves, and then people then even now begin to fall into depression because of loss of motivation. We also see behavioral consequences because of challenges, right? We see reduced performance in everyday tasks. We see withdrawal or isolation. I already talked about isolation or procrastination, outbursts. Have you seen that workout, someone that suddenly the person is normally calm, right? But all of a sudden, there's this frequent outbursts, and you're wondering what's going on with this person. The person's probably dealing with, a difficult time. And then we see people using substance to cope. And that's why we have, a large number of young people, going through drug abuse, right? And so it's important. I hope that you get the point that it's actually important for us to build resilience. Now, 5 pillars for building resilience. This is the meat of my conversation. 5 pillars for building resilience. I said number 1, personal power; 2, people; 3, process; 4, possibilities; and 5, prosperity. 5 pillars for building resilience. I don't think you're going to find this anywhere. 1 is personal power; 2, people; 3, process; 4, possibilities; and 5, prosperity, right? And so let's go into just talking about it quickly in the few minutes that I have. Now, I say that it's important to build your personal power is so important when it comes to the subject of building resilience. Your personal power is your inner core, right? What makes up your inner core? And I put it here for you. What makes up your inner core as a person is, your vision, right? Your recognition of your vision as an individual. You can put purpose there as well, right? Because when you're going through challenges, your recognition of who you are, your recognition of why you are, and we've talked about that many times, your recognition of what you've been called to do gives you the capacity required to be able to withstand whatever challenge may come your way. Do you understand? And so part of your personal power, that's your inner strength. Part of your personal power is vision. And then your capacity being your ability to do the vision and to become the person for the vision, your inner capacity builds your personal power. When you know, I can do this, when you know, I can go through this thing, when you know for a fact from your inside, not someone telling you, right? There's a place where you have someone telling you, and that's the people pillar. But first, you've got to believe in yourself. And that's where your capacity comes into play, your competence as well. Some people have capacity, your competence, your knowledge, your skill, your attitude, and then your character. So I say that capacity is your ability to do, what you believe you have been placed here on earth, which is your vision, to fulfill your vision, your ability to do it well, right, is your competence. And then your ability to do it well for a long time is your character. And this, when you combine all of this four together, goes a long way in building the inner capacity required to go through difficulties. It builds your resilient power so that when you go through difficult situations, when you go through things that are challenging, that seems like, this is a setback, you have a recognition of your vision. You have a recognition of, the inner capacity that you carry, your ability to be able to walk towards the vision, recognizing that this is just a temporal situation and this is working together for my good. This is working together, this is working something greater than I can see at the moment. But at the end of the day, it's all, it's pushing me forward towards who I see myself becoming. It's empowering me with the competence I require to become the person for the vision and the character needed to sustain. You get what I mean? So it's important that you build personal power and you don't wait till you have challenges to build personal power, right? You don't wait till there are challenges or difficulties to build personal power. It's an ongoing journey, day by day. And it's that work of investing in yourself. Because as you commit to investing in yourself, you build the strength that would be able to take you through the days of adversity and challenges. Okay. And so what you find that a lot of people, when they go through a difficult time, they kind of crash because they can't see, they can't see the vision of the future. They can't catch a hold of a future. You understand? And that's why it's important. You have a vision. You've got to have a vision for your life, right? Yes, we're talking about resilience, but it's important that you have a vision. And we talk about vision all the time. You recognize that, within me as well, I have the capacity, and daily you're building your competence, you're working on your character, you're developing the right skill sets, right? You're being patient, you're ensuring that you're conscious about developing the virtue that will take you through difficult situation. It's not like we prepare for bad things. You understand? It's not like we prepare for bad things. It's just that we ensure that we do the hard work of developing ourselves on a daily basis, how we live our lives, right? And vision helps you with intentionality. It helps you to be intentional. You've heard me talk about it many times if you've listened to any of my teachings. So invest in your personal power, as strengthening your inner core is key to withstanding difficulties as you take the lead in your life and you continue on the journey of leadership as a visionary, an entrepreneur, or whatever assignment it is, a ministry gift, whatever assignment it is that you are currently doing, as a leader. Okay. Now let's talk about people, right? As a second pillar for building resilience. One challenge that I see in today's world is that some leaders, or some of us, don't really recognize the value of people, right? And if you look at your life and you go through, you look at how you've been able to surmount some of the most difficult times, you recognize that there was someone by your side who helped you through that challenging time, right? You actually look through, when you look back, when you do that work of, reflection, you can see that there was someone who encouraged you, someone who also inspired you, right, to keep on going. And so I say that for us to be able to invest in resilience as a superpower, we must be intentional about cultivating relationships with people so that we don't wait for the difficult situation to come up before we do the work of investing. And then, that's when you find, or when someone is going through a difficult time, they'll then reach out to, I haven't not heard from someone, for many months, just say, hi, how are you? I need this, right? And that's where people begin to feel like they're just being used. Okay. So you must recognize that people are a key part of your journey as a leader. And for you to be able to develop the necessary skill set to overcome challenges, you must do the hard work of investing in people. 5 categories that I've placed here: your family, right? I know that some people, and I recognize that some people don't have, a good relationship with their family members. That's family by blood. But if you don't have a good relationship with your family by blood, then I know that family is not just limited to blood, relationship, right? There are people who have friends that can become that have become family, like family, right? So just knowing that you've got to do that work of investing. And if you have a good family, please do your best to hold it there and invest. If you have your siblings, if your siblings are like your friends and your siblings always show up for you, then please invest in that relationship. Also, friends. Some people make the mistake of wanting to just build strategic alliances that support them on their career journeys, but don't recognize the role that friends play, right? And of course, I can't delve into who is a friend here. This is not the place for it. But it's important that you recognize those who are your friends. And I say mentors, I'm just going to run quickly. It's important that you have mentors. In today's world, oh my goodness, it's just important that you have mentors, right? You can have people that you listen to. You can have people up close who you can reach out to for counsel. The essence of having a mentor, a coach, so that you can, reach out for counsel. You even if you don't have a one-on-one relationship with a person, of course, you can reach out to, or you can engage with their materials, like their books and their courses or their teachings, and get the kind of advice that you require when you're going through difficult times. There are times when I've gone through certain situations and I just needed to, listen to one of my favorite teachers, right? And who I see as a mentor, and I find the kind of advice that I need, as I journey through that difficult situation. Your network is broad, but strategic alliances, especially if you're an entrepreneur, a career professional, an impact leader, a ministry gift, you know what? You've got to have strategic alliances, people that you can easily say, I'm going through something now. I need you to, hold my hand. Do you know someone here? I need you to be here. Strategic alliances is important. Friends will always be there for you. But in terms of your impact work, in terms of your work, the work you're doing with the assignment that have been placed in your hands, it's important that you recognize your strategic alliances. Your network is a more broad term to cover, for instance, the associations you belong to. It's a more broad term to cover, those your colleagues. But it's important that you recognize your strategic alliances, right? Those that are, within your circle on that journey of fulfilling your purpose, so that you can cultivate. The whole idea is to recognize these different areas and cultivate these relationships, in preparation for whenever you go through a tough time and you need counsel or advice. Okay. And then process is the steps you take to cultivate resilience, especially when, when you're going through challenges. Okay. Sometimes you're not even able to really think. While I was grieving, I was telling you that I lost a family member. While I was grieving, one of those days I opened my laptop and I just couldn't do anything. I tried, but it wasn't just working. So I closed it, went to sit down on the couch, and I thought, I just allowed my mind wander for a bit. And then maybe a few days, I mean, the next day, I was then able to sort of get my thoughts together to keep on my journey, right? And so we recognize that when we go through um difficulties, and this would help you with building the required virtue. This particular process would help you with building the required virtue on when you go through challenges, so that you're able to, you know what, pause and plan. You're able to prioritize, you are able to schedule your priorities, you're able to also guard your focus, and you're able to schedule time for rest. These are 5 areas of, the concept I'm calling process that helps you with building resilience. We say that we've already agreed that resilience is your ability to withstand difficulties. Now, let's look at planning. If you've read some of these books on leadership motivation, you will see how they talk about planning to be able to manage your time. You see how they talk about prioritizing what matters to you and scheduling it. What doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. And that's where you find a lot of people say, I forgot. Now, if before you are faced with a difficult challenge, you're not able to plan and prioritize and schedule what needs to get done, when the challenge comes, you find that you'll be all over the place. So these are habits, these are things to cultivate. Don't forget, we're talking about building resilience. These are things to cultivate beforehand, before you encounter that difficult challenge. So you've got to plan, you've got to prioritize, you've got to schedule your work, and then guard your focus in today's world, right? If you're not someone who knows how to guard your focus, when you are faced with a difficult time, you find that it will be almost impossible for you. Your mind will just be running everywhere. It will be almost impossible for you to be able to develop the skill sets required to look at that challenge head on, face it head on, and move past it. Right? I can't, going into focus in detail is a whole, like, how can you guard your focus? How can you guard it's like guarding your mind. It's like ensuring that you pay attention to what matters in the time that it matters. And we know that there's a lot of distraction in today's world, right? There's a lot of distraction. So if you're not intentional, and that's why I said plan, prioritize, schedule first, and then before focus. If you're not intentional, then you find that you'll just be everywhere. Don't forget that this is us building before we face the day of adversity, and then scheduling time for rest as well. A tired body, when a tired body faces something that is even minute, you just find that you overreact. So it's important that you schedule, and look at it again, schedule time for rest, time to just, sit back from the regular routine. And if you're a visionary, if you're an entrepreneur, you're even, building your business or working on a project, it's important to have, frequent time for rest, at least once a month, so that you're able to free your mind to think. We can find that the more you do, if you just have that mundane task, you keep doing it daily, you're not able to free up space for strategic thinking required to make progress, because you need to be able to introspect, reflect, for you to continue on that journey of making progress. If not, you find that you wake up 2 years later, you're still doing the same set of things, right? So ensure that as you journey as a leader, wherever it is that you are at, whatever stage of life you are at, if you're listening to me, you've got to incorporate this into your weekly, daily routine, planning your time, planning your task, planning what needs to get done, prioritizing, knowing what matters more to you in a specific period, scheduling what matters to you, focusing on what matters to you, and ensuring that you give time for your body, your mind, and your soul to rest. Now, the other pillar, this is the third pillar, right? The fourth pillar, I beg your pardon. Possibilities. Possibilities. I say that possibilities are nurtured through an optimistic mindset. And you don't wait. Okay, let me finish reading this. Possibilities are nurtured through an optimistic mindset, one that propels us to take action. Our brains have an extraordinary ability to learn, improvise, and adapt, so we can transform ourselves and our circumstances. This ability, known as neuroplasticity, is our neural network connecting and adjusting to evolve our thoughts and behavior. What drives this function? Optimism. I know that some people are pessimistic, right? But it's important that you have a possibilities mindset, so that when you are faced with difficulties, you know how to approach it, you know how to think about it, and you think about it in a way that it adds value to you, not that it takes away from you. So I say develop, cultivate, and multiply. Nobody woke up with a possibilities mindset. It's something that you have to develop, right? It's something that you have to cultivate and multiply, something that you increasingly become better at it. So that when you know how some people will say that we have a glass and there's water in it, but it's half. Some people will see the glass as half full. Some people will see the glass as half empty. How you see determines how you cultivate your perception. Do you understand? So it's important that you develop a possibility mindset. Yes, you're faced with a problem. What do you see? Do you see possibilities? Do you see opportunities? And it's something that can be learned. It's something that can be learned, and you can become better at it, and you can become a possibility spreader. You multiply your perception, especially as a leader, because you have people on your team. If you lead a business, you have people on your team who would see problems and will tell you only about the problems, but you've got to be able to see possibilities right in the midst of problems. And that's why we talk about neuroplasticity, because our brains have an extraordinary ability to learn and improvise, even when we're faced with problems. And that's why though our forefathers, they were able to navigate the difficulties that came with the living condition. They had an extraordinary ability, and even when civilization started coming in, they were still able to adapt. They were still able to improvise and learn with it and improve with the times. And that's the same for us. So it's important that you develop a possibility mindset before you face challenges. My example, since I'm still on this example of grieving, right? I lost my aunt in the most gory way, but through the process of grieving, I was able to see, right? I was able to see a possibility out of that very difficult and problematic situation. And that gave me comfort. And that empowered me to keep going, right? So it's important that you know what you don't wait till you face the challenge to develop this mindset. Daily, I'm working on my mindset, and you should too. Daily, I'm, developing the kind of mindset that would help me become the kind of woman that I see myself becoming. And you yourself as well, you must do the work of developing, cultivating, and multiplying, this possibility mindset. Let's spread optimism. Let's spread optimism. We know that we live in a challenging world, and we know that people will always complain about the bills, complain about what's not working with government. We've heard it, we've been hearing it, but how can we shift our gaze? How can we shift our focus from the problems that exist in the environment to the possibilities and the opportunities that can come out of it? And that's what possibilities is about. All right. And let's talk about prosperity. Let's talk about prosperity. This is my last pillar when it comes to building resilience. I love this quote by Dr. Cindy Trim. She says, prosperity has little to do with temporal success and more to do with spiritual resilience and the fortitude of the soul. Prosperity is the divine enablement that helps you overcome obstacles in order to fulfill a purpose, the capacity you need to maximize your potential to create change. Now, why am I saying we should focus on prosperity? Building prosperity is one of our pillars, because when we think about, the whole man, right? The whole man here being, we talk about, I think you must have heard me talk about the body, soul, and spirit, right? And we think about how we've been placed here on earth to flourish. It gives us the right perspective when we're going through challenges. And most times when we go through challenges, it's in a particular area, right? Some parts of our lives will be going well. One part of our life might have K-leg, or sorry, if you're not Nigerian, K-leg means one part of our life might have, there's just something wrong. It's not perfect, right? And of course, we know that our lives will not always be perfect as we want. And that's the whole concept of resilience, that right in the midst of the imperfections, we continue to strive for perfection, right? And so when we think about prosperity holistically, from spiritual prosperity, mental being your mind transformation, physical prosperity being your body your body being fit for its purpose. We think about vocational prosperity in terms of our career. We think about financial prosperity, right? We think about relational prosperity, because some people just think about prosperity as money, but prosperity is more than money, right? So when we think about prosperity holistically, right, we're better empowered to build the skill sets required to navigate challenges when they come in a certain area in our life. So that we don't think that, oh, because I'm going through this challenge in my work, the other areas of my life are filled with different, I'm not making progress, I'm moving forward. Do you get what I mean? So I've added prosperity here for you to think about prosperity holistically as you journey through life, as you work on your vision, as you grow as a leader. Think about prosperity holistically. Think about your mental transformation. Invest in your mental transformation. Invest in the development of your mind and your mindset. Invest in your physical health. That may look like cutting away certain foods, right? It's all part of resilience. Invest in your spiritual health. Your spiritual health is a core part of, that ability to withstand difficulties when they come. So it's important that you invest in your prosperity, think about it holistically, your financial prosperity, your relational prosperity. Relational, we already talked about people, your social prosperity in terms of your reputation, right? Your impact as an individual is something that I want you to holistically think about and holistically invest in. And that all then it's all part of your vision. That, remember when we talked about building personal power, where we said vision is a core part. Vision, we talked about vision, we talked about competence, we talked about capacity, we talked about character, right? So when you think about prosperity holistically, it helps you do the work required to flourish. And that's why you have that tree there. It helps you do the work, put in the work required for you to flourish as an individual. And so when you encounter challenges, you recognize that this challenge is here for me to be able to flourish, for me to develop more skills to flourish in, and you identify the area of your life, right? And so think about resilience as you build these 5 areas that I've shared with you, as you build these 5 areas that I've shared with you, as you develop these 5 pillars that I've shared with you, you'll find that when you encounter challenges, you are able to have the right perspective, because resilience is about perspective, right? Resilience is about having the right perspective when you encounter difficulties. And it's the right perspective that helps you withstand, cope, and thrive. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the right perspective, and you develop the right perspective by investing in these 5 pillars that I've shared with you. It's that perspective that helps you withstand the pressure, withstand the difficulty, cope through the difficulty, and bounce back. So when you have a vision, you can bounce back. You know what? I have a place I'm going, right? When you think about how you can prosper in these core areas that I've shared with you, you keep on doing the work. You keep on moving forward. Okay. So my closing thought for you is that prosperity is, because at the end of the day, it's all about prospering. Prosperity is far more than having money or financial success. It's when all people have the opportunity and freedom to thrive. Prosperity is underpinned by an inclusive society with a strong social contract that protects the fundamental liberties and security of every individual. It is driven by an open economy that harnesses ideas and talent to create sustainable pathways out of poverty. And it is built by empowered people. That's where I want you to see. Prosperity is built by empowered people who contribute and play their part in creating a society that promotes resilience and well-being. And so resilience is a core part of our becoming as humans. And we can't run away. We can't run away from challenges. We will face challenges, but we've got to have the right perspective. And when you focus on these 5 pillars that I shared with you, you'll find that you're able to build the right perspective necessary for you to go through the challenges that you face on your journey of becoming. And I hope that this has helped you. I will share more with you in some of my other courses and in one of the books I'm going to release very soon. I have a reflection for you to look at, right? So I have a reflection. You know that most of my programs and most of my courses, there's always a reflection. And you'll find that in that reflection, you will dig in deeper and you will get more gems. Think back to a time in your life when you had to go through a very difficult circumstance or situation. Describe the scenario. What key character traits helped you withstand and overcome the difficulty? Who are the people in your life that made a difference in this season, and what did they help? What did they do to help you? Now, how are you daily cultivating the character traits that helped you during this difficult season? If you haven't been cultivating these traits, how do you intend to begin? What process are you committing to in order to develop a mindset of possibilities and optimism as shared during today's session? You can take a screenshot of this and sit down with your journal, answer the questions, and you'll find that as you answer the questions, you get more insights into the character traits you need to develop on your journey of becoming more and becoming the person that God has designed for you to be. Thank you for listening to this session, and I hope that you found it helpful.